So up next, we have another talk from Ori Keren, and his talk is titled Metrics Alone Don't Improve Dev Teams, Strategies for Implementing Continuous Improvement. And Ori is CEO and co-founder at LinearB. With more than 13 years of experience, Ori has a solid track record of building excellent engineering organizations from the ground up and leading innovative software projects that drive mission-critical value to large enterprises around the globe. Ori, over to you.
Hello and welcome to my talk about how metrics alone don't improve dev teams and how we can offer strategies for implementing continuous improvement. I'm Ori Keren and I'm thrilled to be back at the CTO Craft. Thank you for the opportunity to be speaking here again. I usually like to start, as always, with a short intro of myself. Maybe not through all the bullets, but I started as a software developer. I say it every time I speak that my first programs were on Sinclair Spectrum 48K RAM. Every time I talk about it, people like to write back, and there's excitement of people who had the same computer. So this was my first experience. Then I got a job as a software developer, and I thought to myself, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Really, really loved it. Really put a lot of time and effort to it. As I moved through the engineering organization, maybe another point to talk to is about how I was a VP of engineering. And I had two interesting journeys with companies that we actually had to scale from 0 to 100, literally 0 to 100 developers in a very short time. And this was an interesting experience. The thing that I experienced there is that I had trouble communicating with my CEO at the beginning on, how do we measure and how to make sure that we improve, and when I needed new resources, how do I ask for that, etc. And the same thing happened with my team. Like, what's important to measure, and how do we make sure we have this continuous improvement mentality? And this is, why me and my partner started LinearB to solve similar problems. If you look at the bottom, there's like a parallel progress that happened in engineering metrics tools. So you started back like in 20 years ago when Agile started. There was almost no visibility at all to what are we measuring, are there any standard metrics, etc. And then it was interesting because you had the first generation of engineering efficiency or engineering metrics tool. And I think the problem there was that these tools were focused on providing metrics to the CTO level or VP engineering, very, very top level. They had visibility only. We're going to talk about what it takes to create this framework of improvement, but they had visibility only, which wasn't enough. So two problems. One, it was stuck at the manager's level, even though this is CTO craft. It was stuck at the CTO level, and it was focused on visibility. So this is why we came up with a concept called Software Delivery Intelligence to try to solve it in a better way. We did it because we learned that metrics alone do not improve dev teams. If you really want to improve how dev teams operate, and you got to do it in a way that big things happen in the dev space. You got to do it in a bottom-up approach. You got to make sure that every frontline manager is equipped with data and equipped with the right tools for improvement. And then if it trickles up to the CEO, the CTO, and the CTO or VP of engineering, you can see dashboard with metrics. That this is great. But this is the way my philosophy and our company philosophy is the way like to deploy a good improvement framework. And we're going to try in the next 15 minutes to break it down to components and what it takes to be successful with that. So this is, I think, the most important slide in this discussion, because it lays down the foundation and the framework you need like to be in the continuous improvement mindset. We have three elements here. We have visibility, we have context, and we have workflow or workflow automation, actually. Let's start with visibility. Remember before I said how visibility and metrics alone do not help to improve. So That was sort of like a small lie because research shows that if you just give visibility, it helps to improve. It drives improvement by 15%. It's not always, but by average, by 15%, right? If you know how to release the data and not just keep it at the CTO level. So if you're going from darkness where you don't have a visibility into your development pipeline into some visibility, you're already on the right path, because again, you're measuring the right things. Now you can't optimize what you cannot measure, right? So now you're measuring the right things. Great first step. Why do you need this context portion as well? Because the data in in the dev pipeline is with high variance. It's sometimes you would see something that is being delayed. It could be like a hackathon project or like a long-term project that somebody's working on, and it's okay that it's being delayed, versus something very critical that you want to get out to production. So you gotta have rich context around what you're seeing. This is a lesson that we learned, and a lesson that I think those tools need to learn. Otherwise, if you see a number, I remember a customer saying it doesn't mean anything for us. Like, you gotta give us context on what is that. I'm going to run 2 examples to make it more clear. And the last portion, which I think is the revolutionary here, is the workflow automation piece. The workflow automation piece this is where you can go and not just seeing data and then enriching it with a rich context that can help you improve. You can actually say, this is how I want to work. These are the rules for my team. I want to turn on a specific policy. I want to let, I don't know, code in an unrisky area to go fast even without review. I want in other areas to set rules that are more strict. But the workflow automation piece is really important. Then you create like a framework for improvement. And I'm going to run 2 examples here on this slide. The first one is, let's say you have a new developer that just joined the team, and now the PRs that this developer is raising and is asking for a review are not getting the proper attention. You want to keep your pickup time, which is my favorite metric to show how much the team is connected and is working together. You want to keep it very short, and all of a sudden you have pickup time going up to higher levels. If you just look at the metrics, it's a lagging indicator. You would see it in a longer cycles, a week after or something like that, and it's going to be hard for you to see, okay, why is our pickup time going up, right? This is why you need context, because with context we'll say, hey, here are the outliers, and then you can really quickly with your eye find, oh, this is all the new PRs for this new developer. We need to pair her or him with the people that will help review their PR. So this is why you gotta have the context element. But the third piece of the workflow can even take it one step further. You can decide on a rule that is sometimes like you can get it out of the box with some tools that says every PR that is waiting for over 3 hours, we want people in the same area to be notified, or you can set other rules. The workflow automation actually wakes the data up to be a live thing that works for improvement for the dev team. And this is why you have to have the 3 elements. I'm going to run one more example in this continuous improvement framework, which is there's this thing called scope creep, right? Sometimes you have unidentified work that you want to understand exactly what's its nature. Why is it coming from? Where is it coming from? So, by the way, the average, if you just look at branches and tasks that developers are working in a regular team, and we've seen a lot of dev teams above 1,500 dev teams in the last 18 months. You'll see that the average number is 30 to 40% of unidentified work. We don't know if it's like working on a specific story or something that somebody chose to work on because there's like a fire that they need to solve, etc. So if, again, we look at the metric that says 30% of my work is unclassified, I don't know exactly what is it like a non-functional thing, a technical debt, a value thing? We don't know. So we can see a number. If we see it 35%, we can say to the team, hey, let's improve. Let's cut this number down, which is good. Again, visibility is good. If you want to go to better, you need context. You want to see the actual branches that are not, matched into like a project management story, whether it's Jira, Clubhouse, or whatever. And then you can see, oh, this one is actually related to this story. This one is actually something we forgot because we solved the bug so fast, we forgot to create a ticket. So this is where the context comes to life in the unidentified scope use case. And the third piece is workflow again. The best case scenario is when the system identifies that we're seeing a new effort or a new branch or a cluster of branches that the system doesn't really identify what story or epic they belong to. An alert can, or a request can go to, or an email can go to the developers and say, do you want us to help you match it to the right story? Then you don't have to wait for improvement. You get the improvement right away, and you get the software delivery intelligence framework work for you. So this is why it's important to have all these three elements, and each one can take you to the next level. I'm going to cover a little bit and give examples of visibility and context and workflow. So visibility, I always like to give the best, classic example of a dev pipeline cycle time, where you can see how each segment and how much time it took, and how much time you were stuck at each phase. So if you look at it and in the time frames of iterations or monthly, you can see where your problems are, which is good. Again, visibility is good. We talked about how it already improves some of the dev teams. So another great example is team health. In the COVID times now, we have a situation where I think it's going to be a major problem to solve. It's already a problem to solve, where the burnout is much higher because people don't have this break. I'm at work now, I'm at home, I'm resting. So you're always in an always on mentality. So making sure that your team is not burned out is a very important thing. Now, imagine that you see a burnout meter, that's great, and you see if it's high for someone. That's great, but if you really want to solve the problem, you want to help, tell someone, hey, take some time off or work on less things so you can have a better work-life balance, etc. You need more context, to be able to give these examples. This is why visibility is super cool and it's important. It's the first step. If we look at context, again, a couple of good examples is, remember how we talked about the pull request that is being delayed? And remember how we said that it could be an hackathon project that somebody did on the side, and it is cool and important, but not with high importance at this phase. Or it could be the most critical PR that is blocking a major epic from being released. This is why you need views that kind of do this correlation between CI/CD, project, coding, and now you can tie it back, right? You can say this story is stuck because of two specific PRs that are causing the story not to be completed. So the context really helps with that. The context also helps, in the example that we gave before, you can see unidentified or unlinked branches that are not connected to specific projects. And then this is where the context really comes to life and helps you and helps take you to the next level and helps you improve. If we look at the third part, which is, again, I think this is really the revolution or the next level of engineering efficiency or software delivery intelligence tool. If you can program you can set up your policy of how you want to work, because if you think about it, the dev process now lives in Git more than ever. So if you can have something that talks to Git, talks to the project management and interacts with them and say, this is how this team wants to work, and you can apply boosters at some level. Again, say, here I'm allowing code to go faster, even in big chunks. It's okay, it's still an experimental project, versus areas where you want much more governance, right? And you want more eyes reviewing. So the workflow piece is where you can actually set this based on areas in the code, based on teams, based on projects. And one example here is like a personal task automation, but also like personal alert when somebody reviewed my PR and it's ready to go, or somebody gave me comments for the third time. So I need to know that I need to jump on it and maybe see what's happening. Or maybe after the fourth time, the dev team leader or the team wants to, hey, let's talk about it. It's going back and forth 4 times. Let's solve this together. So the workflow is the piece where you actually decide on how you want to work and make the data work for you. You have one more example that I don't know if it's easy to see, but a lot of the times you'll see stories that you can see in your eyes because again, the PRs and the stories are connected, that it's already done, but it didn't move between the swim lanes in your project management tool. So you can choose to move it like to the right place. It's already done, and you can set up a rule. Next time you see a thing in this state, just mark it as done. So I'm taking the bureaucracy off me and I'm making the data work for me. This is where workflow and workflow automation really takes software delivery intelligence to the next level. We at LinearB, we have a mission like to take this software delivery intelligence concept and put it in the minds and the hands of dev teams. So even before I'm going to try to avoid selling LinearB and focus more on like what we're trying to give back as much as I can. But so there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of like content out there that talks about those concepts, about what are the right metrics, how do you measure them, how do you provide visibility, how do you search for the right context so it's better than just the number, right? It tells you where your problems are. So you can find a lot of those resources in our website on linearb.io and get yourself more educated on where these things are right now. Then, for people who are ready to take it to the next level, we have a great community where you can just discuss these topics and raise, whatever you see as a risk. I know a lot of people have concerns about like the big brother approach every time you adopt metrics. So you can learn from, our materials, how to deploy it right, and from the community on like mistakes they did and how did they recovered from them, etc. This is a great community to discuss all of these topics. And at the end, once you're ready, of course, you can always like get visibility and get like a trial with the to try on like and see or get visibility, context, and the workflow automation working for you with LinearB. So this is like the last slide, and like I told you, I try to avoid like selling LinearB as much as I can, but I'm going to give you a little bit of context around what we're doing. So we're really, this is our mission, like to have software delivery intelligence at the end of every team that is out there. So the improvement is done in the right way, the right cultural way that is right to the dev space. We have some logos that we're super proud of. Like you can see here some unicorns like Big ID, Hippo, Axonius, Zigo that recently started to use LinearB, and we were really, really excited about it. These guys are building some amazing company there. And we have other companies like Unbubble and Clubhouse that are using LinearB. We're founded by 2 VPs of engineering, myself and my co-founder Dan Lyons, who also went through the same pain points that I described. We have 1,500 dev teams, probably more at this point, that are working with our tool, which is right. And we also raised a Series A recently. Again, not the most important thing. It's a mean to achieve like this mission and to be able to push forward with our mission to put software delivery intelligence at the end of every dev team. You can see that dev teams that use LinearB, we help them to reduce their cycle time. This is, I think, 48% is somewhere in the middle, but we've seen teams that the improvement is much, much higher. And there's other places, of course, that it helps improve. So visit linearb.io to find all the materials. Really, I'm really thankful for you for taking the time to listen to me, and for CTO Craft for giving me the opportunity to speak here again. Thank you, and goodbye.